Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Revizto 30-minute Hard Hat Huddle. So this is kind of another type of session that we're starting that's meant to be kind of a spin-off of our rev-up sessions that a lot of you probably attended already. And they have a similar resemblance for the most part, but just wanting to focus on getting our audience as much content as possible and get you out of here and back to your typical day in 30 minutes, including Q&A. So I'm Greg Keller, Regional Director with Revizto, and I'm joined today by Frakie Davis, Senior VDC Coordinator with WmT Spaeder, Mechanical Contractors. Today our topic is how mechanical contractors can maximize their efficiency, delivering projects on time and on budget through the use of Revizto. I'm really excited to have Frankie on as a guest, and especially excited to be able to feature how Spaeder has been an early adopter of Revizto and has been at the forefront of construction technology for several years now. Today we're going to walk through how Spaeder leverages Revizto and other technologies to ultimately help them improve communication between their BIM team, their Fab Shop, and their field teams, and ultimately reduce the rework on site through this process, which obviously leads to more dollars in their pocket. It leads to satisfied customers. That helps with repeat business. So we're going to dive right into this session with Frankie, and the format is kind of going to be like a live technical interview that I'll allow him to answer some questions and present some of Spaeder's work along with a live demonstration inside the tool of their Revizto workflows and processes. But real quick, just a quick dive into, for those that maybe are not as familiar with Revizto as others, what it means as an integrated collaboration platform, an ICP, and why this is so important to our customers. We've branded ourselves as an ICP because a lot of our customers in the industry was right or wrong kind of pigeonhole us into being a BIM collaboration platform, and we are that, but we're much more than that, as you can kind of see from this slide. We really aim to unify project intelligence, become that focal point for all project stakeholders to communicate together from design all the way through closeout and facilities management. The goal is that you're designing in your various design tools, of which we plug into all of them, and then work in Revizto for design review, for MEP coordination, for virtual reality walkthroughs, for field issue tracking, for point cloud integration, for automated reporting, and everything in between that. So, and then from a document management standpoint, we integrate with BIM 360 docs, with Box, with Procore docs. So, not reinventing the wheel, but just working with all these different software platforms at various stages and various use cases, and having Revizto be the central point of communication and collaboration for all of them. So that's kind of my quick spiel is on Revizto being an ICP, and without any further delay, we'll get right into the heart of the session. And with that being said, again, I'd like to welcome Frakie Davis from WmT Spaeder. Frankie, thanks for joining. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking time out in our short webinar, and I hope we're able to make it interesting and, like Greg said, leave some time to answer some questions that you may have. Again, my name is Frakie Davis Jr. with Senior BIM VDC Coordinator with WmT Spaeder in Pennsylvania. And I'd just like to get started, and if Greg, if you go to the next slide, please.
Sure.
Spaeder's workflow previously, as you can see, depending on whether it's a green site or a brown site, green site is pretty self-explanatory. You get the background from the architect, and you go in and begin to populate your model. If there are other trades involved, you're going to have collaboration with them in the Revizto platform. With the brown site, we do utilize our Faro scanning, which has been a plus because that cuts down on having to model background information. We can just jump in and start inputting our mechanical components. We go through the recap, and we use 3ds Max. When I started with Revizto in 2016, there was not a RCP import, and I'm happy to see all the great innovations that they've made over the years. But when I first started, it was just the FBX import. So we use 3ds Max along with recap to create a FBX file. And that's what we used in the Revizto collaboration platform. You see here, I do have workflows that go through Navisworks. The purpose of those was to bring those clash reports from Navis into Revizto in order to collaborate with the team. And then after all that collaboration is completed, of course, the next step is to send it out to our Fab Shop and or to our teams in the field to begin construction. Go to the next slide, Greg.
Awesome.
Currently, you can see, along with some of the innovations Revizto has made, we are using Procore now for our document management and also for our drawing management. It's an easy tool that our field teams have found to look up specs and drawings and tie that back to the model. As a lot of you know who use point clouds, Recap stopped their meshing service. And so for me personally, the first time I saw a point cloud in Revizto and compared to what I was used to seeing with a mesh file, it wasn't the same. And so I'm very happy after some searching that Spaeder's been able to partner with Cintu in order to get those 3D mesh files of existing conditions back. We still use 3D Max to line up our mesh to our REVIT model. Still using Navisworks to bring in the class detections, and all of that goes to Revizto, and then we're sending that information out to our Fab Shops and to our field teams. Go to the next one.
Yeah, this is excellent, Frankie. And if I can hop in here, I mean, Spaeder's been a Revizto customer for quite a few years now, and I think it says a lot to their mindset towards construction technology and embracing kind of that disruptive technology that Revizto was and is, and they obviously have used it effectively. But you yourself, even before coming to Spaeder, were a Revizto proponent for years as well. In your opinion, what do you see as the most innovative way that Revizto has helped solve major problems?
For me, it's been with other platforms, I found that you had to have a coordination meeting after the coordination meeting. And what I mean by that is once the screenshots were taken, once the notes were done, then that BIM coordinator had to then go through after the meeting and send all that information out afterwards. Whereas with Revizto, the abilities of the issue tracker, that process is done in real time. So while those issues are being identified, they're being logged, the assignee is getting that information right then and there. There's no delay. And that's been the plus for me, especially if and a lot of us we're on tight schedules. Everybody needs whatever the deliverable, to old saying, they needed it 2 weeks ago. And so that key feature right there has been very helpful for me, that real-time collaboration.
Yeah, almost like a live, on-the-go, living, breathing coordination meeting, right? Just continuous. Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. Of everything that I can relay in this brief presentation, this slide to me is the most important. And the reason being, you notice on the previous slides, the workflow goes one way. But when you're in the communication and in coordination, the information has to flow two ways. My approach to BIM coordination as a BIM coordinator is, at some point, it's up to me to get out of my office, or we get out of our cube, we put on our safety shoes, we put on our safety glasses, and we go out either to the site or we go down to the field, and we're talking with our fellow co-workers in the shop and in the field about how things are going, how things are put together, and how we can do it better. And even a plus to that, in the coordination design phase, it's always a plus if you can to get those foremen, to get those Fab Shop supervisors in and get their buy-in on what it is we're designing. Because in our world, as the BIM coordinators, everything's always straight, everything's always 90 degrees, but it's up to those guys to actually make what we design in a perfect world to build it with imperfect parts. And so I would encourage everybody, when it's practical and you're in design phase, bring your field foreman in, bring your Fab Shop superintendents in, let them sit in on those meetings and give that input. It's a great resource. It helps you in your future designs, and it builds a cohesion with your team. And I really hope of anything you take from today's presentation to take that aspect from it. Yes, Greg, go ahead to the next slide.
Yeah, and Frankie, I think a lot of, we hear it, a lot of times mechanical contractors they might see Revizto for the first time and kind of perceive it as a GC-centric tool, but really with what you just said, that kind of illustrates how important it is for mechanical contractors as well, and to be able to get that buy-in from your Fab Shop and those field teams.
One of the other integrations that I really have really utilized and enjoyed with Revizto is their 3D VR technology. I like to, once the mechanical room or whatever you have that you're designing is laid out, is it take a few minutes to go into the VR environment, immerse yourself in it, and see, like if you have different components that's going to require maintenance, make sure somebody can reasonably fit in an area, can access an area, and it's just another for lack of better vernacular, another sanity check, just to make sure that your model is not just functionally correct, but also as far as human functions, it works in that way too. So I would encourage you, if you have the capability, to use the Revizto VR to assist you in your design.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like, especially when you're talking, from a mechanical contractor standpoint, and having those, those very detailed and very tight space mechanical rooms, being able to slap a headset on and walk through that model and really get a sense of the spatial awareness seems like that kind of will add another layer of value to being able to do those model reviews.
It's always a good idea to know where the head knocker's at before you get to the site.
Exactly.
Where you need to duck. So.
You got it.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Go ahead. Right. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, kind of segueing into, kind of the real world scenarios that Spaeder has used Revizto on in some of the more successful projects. So, I think I'll let you take it from here, but Citizens Bank being one of those projects, and I'll let you kind of describe that.
Sure. This is one of the projects I was able to work on. We use Revizto on it. Basically, it's the third floor of a bank building. We're doing a renovation project. They're going to put a tenant in there. And we received a model from an architect. And just based on experience, I questioned the fact that the architect had just an open area above the ceiling. And so we had our scan tech go down to the site. And as you can see on the slide, the image on the right, there's a lot of structural steel above the ceiling. And so instead of having to go through and have our field teams try to figure out how to route the duct and the HVAC lines, we were able to go in, lay that out. While we laid it out, get their input, what works for them, has installed it in the field. And before anybody even got to the construction, we all were on the same page of how the install went. The other part of that was we had an electrical trade outside of Spaeder who had also received this architect background, who also didn't have any idea of the structural components above the ceiling. So I was able to invite that trade into Revizto. They were able to lay their DWG out and make adjustments to, which saved them time too, and made the project as a whole a big success. And then we had a very satisfied customer.
That's awesome, Frankie. Yeah, I think that really hits home with the point that, you know, sometimes what you guys are provided is not always the case, and having a program like Revizto to confirm that and easily get all the different trades on the same page, I think that kind of speaks to the huge value there.
Yep. This project here, we're doing a chiller replacement at Central Plastics, located here where Spaeder is. We used, again, it's a brown site, so we took our Faro scanner. We got the existing conditions at the site, brought that back, did our modeling, and was able to satisfy the customer. Excuse me, my volume just dropped out. You still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Was able to meet the customer's schedule and give them a quality product. And one of the things I was saying that's so important, has the BIM coordinator or the designer to talk to the guys in the field. Just by going to the site, I was able to meet with the foreman, and it was just something basic. He just needed to be able to jump from existing to install. He just needed to be able to jump from those views easily while they're performing the work. And so I was able to go there, set him up 2 views. Of course, the one on the left is the existing, the one on the right would be the final install. And that helped him amazingly. But don't ever underestimate how simple just something like that could make a difference on a project.
Yeah, absolutely, Frankie. And one of these other slides I want to go to, I mean, this is obviously.
Yeah, that's us there at the central site.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, what some of these slides illustrate, you know, especially this one right here, you know, you can see that there is a difference between what is modeled in BIM and what's actually fabricated. And Frankie, talk to us a little bit about how Revizto allows for that, you know, those lessons learned, that ongoing communication, and to be able to catch that, you know, regardless of whether it's an actual change that's needed in design, or whether it's, you know, just a fabrication adjustment that needs to be communicated back to BIM. Can you talk about how Revizto easily allows for that communication?
Absolutely. The slide you see in front of you now, Spaeder had a project and we were using HDPE fittings. It was our first project using those type of fittings. We recently partnered with Siskiyou because we wanted to make sure that whatever fittings, the sizes, those had to be correct. This is an underground component. And we have been having issues with takeoff because the drawing would say a fitting is a certain size. We order it and that fitting is not the size. And then you run into fit up problems, especially when you're dealing with equipment. So we partnered with Siskiyou. I've had previous experience with them, very happy with, you know, how they maintain their database. We know it's right when we put it in our model. In this situation here, if you look at the image on the left, and if you look at the very top of the assembly, you'll see that the tree is turned 180 degrees from the actual Revizto model. We're able to catch this in the shop just by simply going down, talking to the fabricator, taking a picture, doing a side-by-side comparison. And at that point, it's in the shop, it's no big deal. You make the correction, cut the fitting, rotate it around, reattach it. We all say a few jokes, you know, everything's fine. But if we don't catch this and it gets to the site, and this being, I think this particular assembly was 14 inches, it's an underground component. You can imagine how construction has to stop. This fitting has to come back to the shop to be redone. Everything at the site is on standby because This is an underground component, so that just pretty much stops that. Your schedule is blown, man hours and everything. So I can't stress it. Revizto will do the job, but we as the BIM coordinators, designers, I can't stress that enough. Go down, talk to your shop superintendents, talk to your field foremen, and be involved and bring them into that design process and make yourself available for the fabrication process and for the construction process.
And Frankie, wouldn't you say that, you know, Revizto, what that also allows you to do is to have this kind of communication between these people? You know, I know that you know, it's great, you know, your pictures there and being able to go spend some FaceTime with these guys, but you know, you could also argue that Revizto allows for you to have to only do that, you know, once in a while, right? That the communication ongoing, Revizto becomes that point, so that way you can stay where you are, they're where they are, and there's no time or money wasted.
I would say in the initial, there was more of me going down to the fab shop, more of me going to the site, because I'm getting that buy-in and I'm trying to build that trust factor. And once that's established, you're absolutely right, Greg. You know, they'll use the guys in the shop, the guys in the field, they'll use the issue tracker to say, hey, take a look at this, give me a measurement. But it's about building up that trust factor with your field teams.
Yeah, completely agree, Frankie. And what is that? I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people on this call know, you know, they can get an idea of what kind of a cost is associated with that. But like, you know, this particular case, you know, if you don't catch that in the fab shop and it goes on site and it's, you know, there's an installation problem or you just can't even install it in the first place, you know, what kind of cost are you looking at here? I'm sure that's something where just this one simple catch can pay for a year's subscription of Revizto 10 times over just in this one shot.
I mean, it could be thousands of dollars. I mean, and to take it even further, you know, fab shops run on schedule too. So, you know, they're going to be into their next project. The configuration of the shop may be different. And so now you've got to bring this component that was supposed to be completed, you know, 3-4 weeks ago. You've got to stop what's going on in the fab shop currently, which affects all of those other schedules. And you've got to take the time to fix this and then send it back out. So not only are you affecting the one job that you made the mistake on, you're affecting all the other jobs that are currently in process in the fab shop also. So it can be quite expensive.
Yeah.
Quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to.
And two, you're looking at your reputation as a contractor. You know, your quality, your attention to detail, all of those things come into account.
Yeah,
so
your ability to win.
Revizto is a great tool, and it really, if you use it, you know, it pays for it, sells for itself. But I can't get past that communication in the design process, in the fab process, and in the construction process.
Yeah, and I think, Frankie, all those are great points. And I think, you know, what Spaeder recognized early on is you know, the need for construction technology like this. You know, you can't look at it like it's a line item cost, right? It's something that, you know, you're going to reap tremendous value down the line, you know, get that return on investment. It may not happen day one, right? It may take some time, but rest assured across these projects and these types of problems that it's identifying quickly and getting resolved, you know, the value there becomes exponential. So yeah, I appreciate everything you're sharing here, Frankie. We have a few minutes left and I want to try to stay as close to that 30-minute mark as possible. But I did want to switch over to the actual 3D. This is not Frankie not knowing how to put coordinates together. These are different projects that we kind of just all put in one scene for the purposes of this webinar. You know, different projects that, you know, Frankie and Spaeder are involved in. So Frankie, I don't know if you want to take over, if you want me to drive, I'm more than happy to do that. But what do we want to, you know, highlight here in the few minutes that we've got left?
Two things to showcase Revizto's capability. We've got 4 REVIT projects in here. We've got 2-point clouds and a 3D mesh file. So as far as capability, I've never come or never had, and since 2016, any issues with how much data putting into Revizto. It's been able to handle it flawlessly. This particular model, if you go back, yeah, where you were. And the other thing I like to highlight is I'm in Northwest Pennsylvania. Greg is in upstate New York. And this is pretty much what we would do if we were working a job. My foreman or the shop superintendent is not physically in the same, or any of the trades may not physically be in the same location as I am. But utilizing Revizto, we can collaborate, that there's no time lost in travel, and we can come up with solutions in real time.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy that you have 4 different projects here that are all, you know, Revisto's able to handle all this. You know, and hopefully for the people on the other end, it's not too too choppy. Because yeah, we do have a lot of data in here, and I'm trying to be mindful not to navigate too fast so people can get a sense of that. But yeah, this is pretty awesome. And I do want to hop over to the issue tracker as well, Frankie, and maybe you can walk us through, you know, just maybe a couple of these, or should I turn it over to you to let you drive?
Okay.
All right, let me stop my share, and I think I can let you. Hold on one second here. My co-host. And I think you should be able to share your screen now.
You should be seeing my issue tracker.
Not yet, I don't think.
Okay.
Make sure you, there we go. It's coming now.
I didn't hit share you. Thank you.
There we go.
All right. So these are just some issues. One of the things I like about Revizto too is I can take issues from one project, export them, and import them into another project, which is one of their great capabilities. So that's pretty much the case here. What we did with these 4 sample projects that we have loaded. You can see, you know, when the project was created. You can go here in the chat and see, you know, what it took to resolve the issue, and finally, you know, it's solved. And that's pretty much. And also on one of our projects, we made use of, as you can see here, if you can see my mouse, Revizto's stamp feature. We had a lot of fire protection clashes, and instead of writing out that issue so many times, we were able to use the Revizto stamp feature, quickly make those issues and get them to the pertinent party. Here, while I was highlighting, this is one issue with the electrical contractor on the bank renovation. I was able to make an issue, say, hey, you know, you got a clash here with our HVAC. And as you can see, we were able to go in and clear it out. He's never used Revizto before, and so that was a big help.
And Frankie, if you can maybe just, you know, with one of these issues or a couple of them, show the, you know, how this issue, you know, yes, you're looking at the markups here and everybody's communicating here, but being able to just quickly go back to the live 3D model and then see where that issue also resides on those sheets where, you know, a lot of folks that are involved in these projects are used to looking at.
Well, that's a good point. With the a lot of the foremen that I've worked with, when they come into Revizto, and that's one of the other things I'm gonna bring up, the first thing they want to see is a map or a drawing. That's what they're used to. And then being able to navigate from a drawing on my ISOs, there we go. Being able to navigate from a drawing and overlay that with the model. And just them having that feature there, they can match up what it is that they're building, whether it's in the field or whether it is they're fabricating, if it's in the shop, what's in the drawing. They can make that quick comparison.
And I think what's important to highlight here too, Frankie, is that you know, guys, what you're seeing is not something that has to be done at a job site kiosk on a supercomputer. You know, this is something that can be done, you know, at that specific location with an iPad in hand, and be able to just sift through these drawings, overlay that drawing on top of the 3D model, view that with the correct spool, and be able to document issues and communicate back to the fab shop in the office as well.
This drawing here, this assembly, whether it's the fabricator in the shop or it's the team in the field, they can quickly overlay it and know where that particular assembly sits. And so that's been great. Our guys have been really open to it, but again, I don't want to seem like I'm hammering that point or beating that over someone's head, but establishing that trust, getting down with the field, getting down in the fab shop, bringing them in during the coordination and design, and then being there with them when they're in fabrication and when they're in construction will go a long way. And you'll find you'll have more buy-in and more positive feedback to the tool.
Yeah, that's really well said, Frankie. And I would also kind of think that you know, being able to kind of crowdsource to the whole group, right? And instead of the bottleneck being a project manager or a foreman, and kind of eliminating that shoulder tapping.
Right.
You know, do I use this? Do I use that? So, you know, I would think that this kind of really helps with you know, eliminating those bottlenecks as well.
Absolutely, 100% agree. 100% agree. That was pretty much the end. I believe we covered everything, Greg. I'll go back here.
Yeah, we did. We are 5 minutes over what I promised. We tried to fit it in 30 minutes, including Q&A, but I think we did pretty well.